Welcome, everyone. Dr. Josh Long here with AME Podcast. My quest to look into people who are continuing making music beyond the classroom and talk to individuals who help others also continue making music. This is sponsored by Art and Music Emporium, serving artistic excellence, which is the business I'm under. That business does repairs, lessons, and we also do some performance initiatives that happen throughout the year. One being at the end of July in Wildwood, New Jersey. We do the annual Community Band by the Sea. And we also have a new one for this year of 2024 down in Music Fest in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, beginning of August. And that's the Bethlehem Steel Company Legacy Band. And both of those groups are kind of really neat. We take a historical spin, rehearse music the day before the concert, and then do the concert, and also do other things such as Tuba Christmases in Bethlehem, or not in Bethlehem, excuse me, in Easton, Pennsylvania, and Belvedere, New Jersey, is what I was trying to say. So if you're interested in any of those things, check out www.artmusicemporium.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. I do release podcasts. I try to release at least 2 per month so that you see the notifications of that. Plus, I am on Facebook. If you'd like to like me, Joshua E. Long, or Art Music Emporium is also on Facebook. And we also have a Patreon account, all the funds and proceeds going to help, again, people make music and continue beyond the classroom. A lot of fun. So I have a great guest here that I actually met as a musician and also a conductor up in the New York State area. And he's was retired now from the public schools, and I know did a fabulous program there, and also is a conductor at a local community band, as well as plays his French horn. And I just found out when we're on this podcast, he does sing too. You know, it's so funny. You know somebody and you think, oh yeah, this is all he does. And look at that. And he told me that, which I know he's going to get into quite a bit, that he does a lot more singing. And I've met him as an instrumentalist. Go figure. So welcome everybody, and welcome Craig Fryer. Hey Craig, why don't we start a little bit with your background, if that's okay? We'll kind of start there, and then we'll see where we go.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
So, if you could tell me, yeah, so you can tell me a little bit, if I may
Yeah.
ask, a little bit of
Yeah,
like,
I'll
let's
go
start,
into
let's start like how you got into maybe some music, first of all, when all of that happened. I know that, might feel a while ago,
yeah.
but
Yeah, pretty much I started playing horn
oh,
like
okay.
anybody else does at fourth grade,
Okay.
and that's the only instrument I ever really played. I mean, I messed around with others, but pretty much French horn, 100%. And I started yeah, in fourth grade, and I went to Boyertown High School in Pennsylvania,
Oh, okay.
which is a pretty reputable program. Not so much anymore, but at the time, a very reputable program. A guy named Arlen Saylor,
Okay.
pretty reputable band director, and actually, Boyertown High School was the first cavalcade of bands.
Oh,
So,
wow.
how
Oh,
about
nice.
that? Yeah.
Well, just a side note,
Back
when
in,
you
I think it
say
was 58 or something like that,
wow,
1950, or first adjudication.
adjudication,
First
okay.
adjudicated cavalcade of bands. Okay, I think it
Well,
was like 1958. So it was a real established
yeah,
program, but not large, just established, just very
sure.
good, but not a real large program. And then, like you mentioned, I was also involved with singing all the way through.
Okay.
Elementary school, I was already in a group when I was 10.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
just remembering this now. That the elementary teacher used to take us around. We were like a choral group that did nursing homes and all this other stuff. We were fifth and
Nice.
sixth grade. Think
Jeez.
back to that now, and wow. Yeah, and we performed maybe a couple times a month. We did. It was like an extracurricular group, but we went around all over, and so that got me singing as well as playing right from
Oh,
the start.
awesome.
So I was always in choruses and band all the way through until I got to high school, where guidance counselors tell you you should take physics instead,
Yeah, right.
which is nonsense. But but so I ended up getting out of chorus for a couple of years, and then I concentrated mostly on my horn playing.
Okay.
So that's probably why I became a horn major and an instrumental teacher.
Oh,
Because when
awesome.
I got to high school, I kind of changed direction a little bit. And then when I went to college, I was strictly, well, I was a general track at Westchester University.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yes, I was in the marching band there. Oh, I guess I should talk a little bit about that. I'm not a big fan of marching band.
That's okay.
Yeah, I think because I'm a horn player, I
Yep.
think that's where it all came. So I always, if I was going on a path, it was always towards the orchestral music
Yeah.
rather than towards drum corps or something like that. I really had no
Yeah.
interest in mellophone or anything like that.
That's what I was
Plus,
going to
we didn't
say.
even use mellophones. We still used horns on the field.
Oh, wow.
In
That's what I
my
was going to say, because you probably got converted to a mellophone.
yeah, Westchester, we used the mellophone. We actually used those French horn trumpets.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Slightly larger things, which are awful, for tuning and everything. But that's what we use. So I was in the marching band for 2 years at Westchester, and was mostly an instrumental major, but I was general track, which is a little different. So you still take a few of the vocal courses, some things that you can take, and you do you keep doing a choral group. Well, if you're an instrumental major, you knock out the choral group, I think, your second year.
Okay.
So I kept singing the choral group. So then my third year, I actually became a double major.
Oh,
And I
okay.
was a tenor and horn major.
Yeah.
So I graduated with a double major, but it doesn't make any difference because you're certified to teach whatever anyway.
Yeah.
But I got that training. So that's my education background, I guess. And then I continued, well, all the way through high school, I was writing music too.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
I'm involved with that too. And I have a few pieces, when that's where I think the choral music takes over.
Okay.
I tend to write more choral music because I
Okay.
sing it with that. Okay, now I'm rambling, so you can guide me if you want. But I sing in a choral group called Kairos across the river.
Okay.
And it's an a cappella group. It's been anywhere from 10 singers to almost 20.
Oh, wow.
Depending on, right now, we're still kind of transitioning into a non-director type of group because our director moved.
Yeah.
And all of us we were basically the core group.
Okay.
So we just kind of reformed and decided to do it. We would direct ourselves.
Yeah. Okay.
But so we've been continuing, and I've been singing with that group since close to 2000. So it's been over 20 years. And we actually have a recording, what's it called? The Valley Sings. We made a recording of music of composers of the Hudson Valley, and I wrote 3 pieces that were on that. So.
Oh, wow.
So and I wrote a piece that the Southern Duchess did. Southern Duchess band did a couple years ago. Now we've taken it out since then, but we did a fanfare, and Vassar played my fanfare too.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So another thing I didn't know about you,
but I'm not. But so I tend to do a lot of things, but I don't know if I ever get to the peak. I just really enjoy working in music. And I don't, and if I took one of those things away, I don't think I'd be happy,
Yeah.
I have to do all those things.
Well, if I may ask, like, we'll stop there and we'll continue on. If I may ask, like, you mentioned that you like doing it, and if you would take one of those things, you would miss it. Could you describe that a little bit? Like, what is about that connection that you're getting, making music and writing music and that you find, and also conducting music, that you find being so needed, I guess is the right word, kind of in your life. We'll say it that way.
Yeah, that I don't know. I think music's always been in the center of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I think, if you think about it, all these things pass and go by, but music is this one thing, and it kind of follows me into everything I do. I was involved with church music for a while, never conducting, but I was at First Presbyterian Church, it just, if I'm not involved with music at a church, I could care less about going to church.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, it's all music kind of guides me in everything I do. And I think that's just the way I was brought up, not so much by my family, but by my school and everything. I just got involved, and I can't imagine not being involved with that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that like former students, well, are you still like all you do is music? And I said, yeah, that's pretty much. but you can do that and be very fulfilled. You know, that's the thing about music.
Right.
Where you don't feel like there's something missing. You know,
Yeah.
it seems to cover everything. So I just I never strayed from it.
Yeah.
I guess
Okay.
that's the way to put it. I became a teacher, so I was involved with it. And first I taught in Poughkeepsie for 12 years. Yeah, I taught the instrumental program at the elementary level for about 4 years, elementary and 6th grade band. And then after that, I became the high school director there after Bob Shaw, which you know Bob Shaw?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
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 Yeah, he was the high school director there.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, and so he was the high school director, and he basically hired me because we got along really well. And then we worked together, and then he suddenly left. It was kind of a surprise because he went to high school in Poughkeepsie.
Okay.
Everybody just kind of thought he would be there forever, and he lived in Kingston. It was a little too much of a commute, and decided to get a job in Kingston. So I took over the high school in Poughkeepsie until about 93.
Oh, awesome.
So I was there, and Poughkeepsie was pretty much just whatever. Here's your program, Craig. Good luck. See you later.
Yeah, right.
It was actually pretty cool to get that freedom and to kind of develop it the way. So we did a marching band, but we had too much conflict in Poughkeepsie.
Okay.
The same kids did everything. It was the small core group.
Right.
Did all the sports, and it was really hard. So I just changed. I decided to knock out the marching band, and we did we had the jazz band play.
That jazz band, okay.
Yeah, we set up and have them play at halftime, and that was.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, we only did that at the homecoming game, but we played in the stands for the rest of the games.
Okay.
And so I was in Poughkeepsie for that time, and I'm sorry, I got away from your question.
Oh, no, you're answering it. No, and it's good you kind of gone back to your kind of back there, and then
so Poughkeepsie was really a cool job. When I look back on it, it was tough every single day.
Sure.
Because it's really just the kids I taught in the band were pretty much kids you would teach anywhere.
Okay.
But the discipline was just tough because
that's
it's a
tough. Okay.
School.
Yeah.
So we became when I did the high school band, became a very good level 4 band.
Oh, okay.
Very good level 4 band, and we started doing trips every year.
Oh, nice.
I started doing that with them, and I think we did Festival every year back then.
Okay.
That group. And we started getting awards, and things were going really well. And then it just got to the point where Poughkeepsie was like doing the same thing every year. You know, and it wasn't the program, it wasn't the kids, it was just, this is what it's going to be here.
Right.
You know, because there's such a changeover of principles and established things.
Yeah.
So I suddenly got a call that there was an opening in Millbrook, and I decided to go there and do the 7 through 12.
Okay.
7 through 12 in Millbrook. And that's what I did up until 2015.
Till 15, yeah. Until return. Oh, awesome.
So and in Millbrook, well, for the first 5 or 6 years, we just did NISMA and things like that at the end of the year. And then about the 6th year, and it was about 1999, we started doing band trips every year.
Oh, nice.
And then I got hooked up with what's the name of the heritage festivals,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
which does more than a festival. They kind
Yep.
of have they actually at one of the festivals they had an honor band.
Okay.
The kids got to play with Peter Boonshaft, which was really cool. You know, they got to
Yeah.
work under him. About 10 kids in the band got to do that. So I started doing those festivals instead of just
Yeah.
go get the awards and come home
Yeah.
festival.
Right.
You know, and then, so we played at Carnegie Hall, and that's what I think we're remembered that
Yeah.
you mentioned. Yeah, that
Yeah.
we played Carnegie Hall. We played at Strathmore Center in near Washington, and we started doing those types of things, and I felt really good about that, and the kids enjoyed those trips even
Yeah.
more than going to Busch Gardens and stuff like that.
Yeah. Definitely.
So that's where and then I did that in my last year or so. We played at Strathmore, and then I just retired.
Yeah.
And then I did. So this is my background, and then I will answer more questions. But I feel like I want to get the background out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
and
for
then
it.
and then then I retired in 2014,
Uh-huh.
at the end of 2014, but I was hired back in the district, the same district, and did part-time elementary instrumental for 5
Oh,
years.
for 5 years. Okay.
And then I finished up 2019 and completely retired.
And completely retired. Okay. Very
So
nice.
that's my story.
Yeah, that's story.
I'll
Well,
get back to now. I'll try to answer the questions.
yeah, no, you've been doing great. Well, one
Okay.
thing, why we're talking about school, let me
Yeah.
just ask you this a couple quick questions. What was your inspiration, I guess, is the best way, or interest that, and what's very compelling to me is you took two different programs in your career, and you pushed them to be strong and to push them to be, to go outside the box, as we can
Right.
say. You know what I mean? And just like you said, with Poughkeepsie, you took them to many different different festivals, and then
Right.
even with Millbrook, I mean, goodness gracious, you're getting them on, Carnegie Halls and different things
Yeah.
like that. So I mean, let me ask you this: it's like, what inspired you to do that, if I may ask?
I think music. I mean,
Okay.
and a lot of people will answer, you have this desire to teach.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I ever had a desire to teach until I started teaching.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then the desire hit me pretty hard,
Okay.
and I really wanted to do it. But before that, teaching was just kind of that's what I want to do. But it was really the music, I think.
The music. Okay.
So I think
Yeah.
that's why I had this reputation a little bit about pushing so hard and getting the programs, because it was to create music.
Yep.
But I think it's not like I trample on the kids or anything.
Yeah. No.
No. But I think the inspiration, and that's what you were asking, is the music for me.
Yeah.
I want to make music with kids, and kids are pretty amazing with making music. The differences you get in just a couple weeks can just be mind-boggling.
Yeah. Right.
And just watching, and I also love to watch musicians get it as they're practicing. Just that feeling like what you're saying. Oh, let's say they're missing dotted rhythms and they're late, and then you get that corrected, and you just see and hear such satisfaction from the kids when they do that motivates them to do the next thing.
Yep.
So I think the motivating factor with me was always music. And when it went another directions, that's when I would get into trouble. You got to focus on music. If you start doing the other things, and I think that's why, if there was ever a conflict with a principal, there was always this respect when I walked in, and I could go pretty far with my requests.
Right.
But it was always this respect because they knew it was about the music. Like, I wasn't trying to promote myself. I wasn't even trying to promote the program.
Right.
I was promoting the kids. So I wasn't trying to make the program better than another program, which they worry about so much, which makes me very mad. But that one program is better than another program. But I didn't think about that. I just made music. And I think, so to answer your question, the inspiration is music itself. and I had an interesting inspiration in music. I think when I look back, and I think about this more, for years I never even thought about it. But now that I'm retired, I think back to the way I was in high school and
Okay.
college.
Yeah.
And I started, my interest in music came from hard rock
Oh, wow.
and listening. Yeah, like Deep Purple, Machine Head changed my life.
Yeah.
When I heard that the first time, it's like I finally got into music. Like I got
Mhm.
into, I liked the volume, and I liked Led Zeppelin and all those groups.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, I started to like prog rock.
Okay.
I started Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Keith Emerson is still my hero, deep down. And you know, those groups like Yes, and a group called Gentle Giant. And I just started listening to that a lot.
Okay.
And that's where the true interest in music came from, because there was a little more to that. And
Okay.
also, I just always liked breaking or pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
And I like new music. I like, at that time, 20th century music.
Hmm.
And I really liked that stuff. And then I heard Infernal Dance from the Firebird on the radio when I was in 10th grade, I think. I was just sitting at home and I turned on the classical station. I heard Infernal Dance and went, oh my God, that's where I live. And then I bought all these Stravinsky albums, and then started getting into new music, pretty much, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, not really new music, but 20th century music.
20th century music. Yeah.
And composers like that. So I'm really different than most people.
Yeah. And that's
It's
okay.
like whenever I talk to people, you know, who's your favorite composer? Stravinsky. And they go, oh, nice. What's wrong with you?
Well, I think it's
that's what I liked.
Yeah.
And so that's where and I started writing music already when I was the high school band did a piece that I wrote.
Oh, wow.
And we did it not in a concert, but in a performance.
In a performance. Okay.
Yeah, it was. I forget. It wasn't a legitimate concert. I guess he didn't want to do it there, but we did it in a performance. And I started writing, and I wrote a couple pieces when I was in college, but I wasn't a composition major. But when I went for a master's, my master's is in composition.
Oh, is it in composition? Okay.
Yeah, I got a composition from Binghamton because for 2 years they had an extension program with New Paltz.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yep.
So I studied with Gundaris Ponet at New Paltz.
Yeah.
And got my degree and wrote pieces for that. And that's when with a composition, that set me, although for a while I wrote a couple things that I would take to a brass group and they would go, yeah, that's nice, and put it aside. But then I started singing with that group Kairos that I mentioned, and I started writing for them. And that was a group that could really perform if you wrote some new music and took some chances with writing some difficult harmonies and things. They could do it. So I started writing for them, and that's mostly what I've written for over the years. I've written choral music for them. Occasionally I'll write instrumental music. I've written a brass quintet and a woodwind quintet, a fanfare for a concert band that I wrote for my band at Millburg.
That's awesome.
But music was always the motivating factor.
Yeah.
Not this desire to be the greatest director or anything like that. Just the best music I can make. And I think the kids always appreciated that. Like they can see through so fast if it's about your ego.
Yeah.
And I think we don't like to say that as teachers.
Right. Sure.
But we do go there sometimes because you just create this thing and suddenly, but the kids are so good about saying ego and letting you know that's not gonna fly. And they're very into making music. I'm sorry, now I'm rambling again. But
no, go for it.
You talk about the music being I'm talking about the music being the major motivating factor. If I am like when I programmed, it was always what was the best music.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What was the best educating?
Mm-hmm.
How to educate the audience, how to
Yeah.
educate the players.
Yeah.
And it was never, what are they going to like the most? Which
Right.
I think is a real problem in music education.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like you don't get to do that in math.
Right.
Could you please change? Can we not learn algebra because we don't really like that?
Right.
We'd much rather do the simpler math. And you know, you don't get to say that. So you want to open them up. But some of the best concerts I did in Millbrook, like we did Eric Whitacre Cloudburst,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing went over better with that audience than that did.
Oh, wow.
You know, you could do a pop tune, they go, yeah, that was really cool, but they want to be educated as much as the kids want to be educated. And I always went that way with my music selection and what I wanted to do. And I was lucky in Millbrook. Well, lucky if you call this lucky. Lucky for me that I didn't have to do marching band.
Right. Yep.
Yes, the marching band's off the table, and you know, we played Homecoming, and I would, you know, a couple weeks ahead, we would play the music. We'd always sound really good in the stands.
Right.
I wanted to do that well, but that, you know, we would do that, get that done, do that, and then it was just a concert band for the rest of the year. And,
that's awesome.
And we got to like a level 5. We did a lot of good literature, and that was the important thing with me.
Yeah.
And, you
well,
know,
it seems
they got to do really good stuff. You know, they got to play good stuff.
Yeah, it seems like you want to, and it's like this whole constant theme of pushing the envelope, which is great. I mean, it's just, you know, because I feel like we put, you know, I always joke with my wife always jokes about this all the time. You know, it's like the days of turning music on and off, right? Meaning like, oh, I want some music here, so I can just turn it on. And they think musicians just kind of turn it on and then you can turn it off. And it's not that, right? It's so much more than that. You know, where you're learning, it's, you know, obviously it's not computer animated or AI, but you know, it's more of this idea of you know, involving yourself with the entertainment aspect, but education aspect and pushing that envelope. And it was great to see you push that envelope with the kids. You know,
I always felt like the education was the entertainment. Yeah, I just did a Kairos concert, and I picked all the music for this concert. I became the director for this concert.
Okay.
And all the music, the way I put it together was all education. We did a piece based on music about water.
Yep.
And then I did Ave Mari Stella, and we did 3 different versions of Ave Mari Stella that by 3 different composers, and the audience loved it.
Wow.
Because they understood exactly what we're doing, and we're educating the audience, and they get more out of the music than just liking it.
Yeah, right.
And no matter what the music is, no matter what, it can be jazz, it can be rock, anything.
Yeah.
If you're doing it, that you're educating. And that's why I always liked prog rock. That's why, because I always felt like they were educating.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't just pushing the envelope to be weird. I mean, Keith Emerson was trying to change music.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I love Keith Emerson.
No, and that's okay. No, and you've kind of, and that's a good thing. You've kind of taken that inspiration to kind of provide for others.
Yeah, it's just they use their format to educate, and that's why I think they're still around today. Well, other groups that just used it to solely entertain, you might hear their music, but it's like it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, they I just always thought of that with music, and I think it might be the composition factor sometimes. That music is itself a thing. Like I play in a band to play good music. I don't play in a band because I want to play in a band because I like the other people, and I do.
Right, sure.
But what it's really about is playing the music.
It's playing the music.
And the other stuff is all the wonderful stuff that goes along with it. That's what I tried to push when I was teaching, that it was about the music and everything. So the school district is into kids becoming better citizens, but you do that through music, not by making them better citizens. You don't just decide, I'm going to make them better citizens. You just teach music, and all of a sudden you look, like I would do Memorial Day, and by my 4th year, we started doing it with just the high school band. And on Monday, on Memorial Day,
Mm-hmm.
when I'd be missing 2 or 3 kids from the band. That would be it.
Oh,
And we
wow.
would play up on, we didn't do we played at the parade, but we played as the band at the top at what's Tribute Gardens there in Millbrook.
Okay.
And we
Mm-hmm.
would play, they would have a ceremony afterwards, and we would do a concert and then play the ceremony.
Okay.
And the kids wanted to do
Yeah, wanted to be there. Yeah.
And it wasn't just, to be a part of things. They wanted to make music for those people.
Yep.
And they felt really great about it. And then it became this patriotic thing as well, because
Mm-hmm.
it's Memorial Day.
Yep.
But starts with music, so that's my focus. And
Yeah.
I sometimes think that in education, if everybody did that a little more,
Mm-hmm.
like really, like even, I'm talking about math teachers, science teachers,
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
really got into make their subject area.
Mm-hmm.
I think the kids get much more out of it,
Yeah.
but it's harder to do when, in a class where everybody's captive.
Yeah.
At
Well, and
least
it's
in
some.
band, you have a little bit of a choice.
Yeah, and it's something to say like you're doing that for the community too. I mean, goodness gracious. I
Right.
mean, like, it's like, I know the school's focus was more citizens, but you're doing that for the community, and that's such a big life lesson, I'll say.
Right.
Because I feel that's that's what we should be doing today.
And
Definitely.
it's through the music. And if we don't continue to make really good music,
Mhm.
that might disappear. Like you want to go out and do it for patriotic reasons and to be part of the community, but you are presenting music, and that's what makes you special for that event.
Right.
I don't know what I'm saying exactly, but I think it makes
Yeah,
sense.
no, you're saying
But
great.
that's what makes it special, and that's how you're contributing. So you go to the
Yeah.
highest level of what you can do, and then you contribute. And that's what I like to see, not just,
Mhm.
oh, you got to do it, you have to do it,
Yep.
but that you create this desire that they want to do it.
Want to
And
do
I
it, yeah.
used to do that through the music, not so
Mhm.
much, you have an obligation, and kids go in one ear out the other. You can't. But if you're working on the music and they want to go up there and play music for the I'm sorry, now I'm rambling.
No, you're not rambling. No, because I actually want to take
That's
that,
where I always came from. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to kind of take that and kind of
Okay.
shift gears a little
Sure.
bit, as what you're doing today, because as we know, you're a conductor
Right.
for the Southern Duchess Community Band, and you're also singing in this kind of community-based,
Right.
a cappella group, and and I know I've seen you, Mills Mansion, for example, playing another group, and doing those kind of
Right.
things. So I guess like a couple questions I had was, what do you do the same or differently with the music aspect of it? Because I know it's all about the music for you, which is awesome. What do you do the same or differently, especially when it comes to more adults? Because we're shifting a gear, right? We have these
Yeah, it
older
took me a
folks.
second. I had one rehearsal where I don't think you were playing with us yet. It was,
Yeah, I
I
don't think
think,
so.
3 years ago.
Okay.
And I had one rehearsal where it wasn't going so well.
Uh-huh.
And I decided to do kind of the high school thing. And I said something to one of the sections. You probably know which section it was. I won't say that. But
Yeah.
to one of the sections, and I think I said something to the effect of, if you can't do it, you got to work on it. And I got on him, and like I heard from about 5 people afterwards, don't ever do that. Because you realize they're totally volunteering.
Yep.
They're completely volunteering, and the pushing is completely different. You don't want to do that with them. So I did that the one time and realized, no, stop that.
Yeah. Yep.
And I was told by other people to stop it as well.
Right.
But I realized that. So I think that is something you really have to think about with a community band, is everyone is there because they just purely want to play music and want to be there. So it's a little different than with the kids, where you can push them a little bit. The pushing is not necessary and actually is counterproductive. They don't know. Adults do not want to be pushed. Adults create it themselves, just like I'm creating it.
Yeah, definitely.
Want to be a part, and actually kids do too.
Yeah, definitely.
If you know, but adults are really like that, and you have to be
Yeah.
careful not to trample on that.
Yeah,
But
but
so it took me at first I just played with Southern Duchess, but
mhm,
I love conducting, and I hope
mhm.
that comes across. I really like making music and conducting, and so um, one of the conductors didn't want to do it anymore, and I actually played with him, John Knight.
Okay.
He,
Hmm.
he conducted 1 year along with Nick Soul. They conducted it together.
Okay.
And John just decided he didn't want to do it anymore. He just wanted to play. So I called Dave and I said, if you need a conductor, I'm there,
Yeah.
because I really miss doing that.
Doing that.
So
Yeah.
Nick and I were going to do it, but then COVID came along.
Mm.
And then Nick just decided that it was not for him. So then I did that year with COVID, because
Yeah.
my daughter's grown up. I didn't really have that to worry about anymore at home.
Yeah.
So I just put on my mask and conducted. And we were one of the only groups in the area that performed during that time.
Yep.
Yeah, and at 10 feet apart. Oh my God. It was a nightmare. But we all really wanted to make it work because we missed this making music,
Hmm.
and that got me going with a group. But I had played with a wind quintet that you saw me with up at Mills Mansion. I played with them for the past 10 years or so.
Oh, okay.
And I played with another wind quintet before that, the Columbia Wind Quintet with John Knight,
Hmm.
way back in the 80s and 90s too.
Hmm.
And then I play in a brass group too, a Quintessence with Keith
Oh,
Riddick,
I
Steve
didn't know
Wilson.
that. Jeez.
Yeah, I play with them. It's kind of we maybe have 5-6 gigs a year.
Oh, okay.
That's it. But we
Yeah.
rehearse maybe every other week, and the woodwind group is kind of like that too. But
Yeah.
they keep me in shape. But I wasn't conducting, and so I called Dave about that, and it just kind of fell in my lap. And then from year to year, everything seems to be going all right.
Yeah.
So I keep doing it, and now we use the guest conductors and things like
Yeah.
that. But
Well,
I that it again. It's just I miss music.
yeah.
Like yeah, I miss. Yeah, you get the camaraderie,
Yep. Mhm.
you get the friendships, but the real reason for doing it is to make music.
Yep.
And also and the group, it's a very unique group.
Yeah, definitely.
It's run by a player in the group.
Hmm. Yep.
It's run by the first clarinetist. He
Hmm.
picks all the music, which I at first went, what? But now I kind of like it because there's a freedom to it. Like I don't have to
Hmm.
worry about that. The music gets
Right.
picked for me, and I'm forced to make that music happen, even
Yep.
if it's not my cup of tea. I gotta.
Yeah.
That's what I got to do. So it's a lot of fun doing the group. But again, I think it came out of the music, and it's so now that I'm doing that, I often wonder how the hell did I teach school on top of it, because I'm really doing the same things I was doing then, but I was doing it on top of a full-time job. And that's the thing with music, with doing music, you really have to do that. If you don't stay involved,
Yeah.
you're direct as a band director, you just start to fade
Yeah.
out. You
Yeah.
got to keep involved with music.
Yeah, and I think it's something to say that you have to do what you got to do, right? And you get in there,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
one.
and I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing I wanted to ask. I know you made a comment about, not being able to push the adults the same way, but I
The
wanted
same
to
way.
say
Right.
I feel that you're still challenging them to be musical there, because that's
Right.
one thing. And I wanted to ask about that. I mean, I know the side where, when they're in the school, you can do different things. Now, and again, we're not talking, mean things or anything, but
Right.
there's certain ways of doing it because it's attached to usually a class or the school or something. But just like you said, this is all volunteers, and people come to just play because they want to, but like you're still challenging them. And I just wanted to ask you really quickly what you do to make the music happen, as you said, and also challenge them in that kind of regards. yet, but not obviously frustrate them too much where they go, see ya, I'm done.
I think the way we have this group set up, and you're aware of this, Josh, that it's just a lot of music. So all you can do is run through.
Yep.
So I think what I consider what I have to do to make that band play musically in the way we have this set up is to be as prepared as I can possibly be for those rehearsals.
Yep.
I mean, I work every day on the next rehearsal's music because it's a lot.
It's a lot.
So I'll do like 10 pieces from week to week, 10 new pieces. Throughout the summer, when I count it up, it's 60 pieces that I conduct. Yeah. So it's just a matter of so I get in there and I know exactly what I'm going to do. So now it doesn't always work out that way, but because of that, I get them behind me right away, I think.
Right.
And then they know the seriousness because I'm prepared. I'm not up there wondering. There was one rehearsal where I didn't get a chance to do that because we had a performance, I think, and we didn't have much time for me to look at the new music. It didn't go as well. It was like, I really have to be prepared for that group. So I think that's the number one thing is the preparation has to be beyond what the norm is, like way beyond, like just knowing that music. And that's important for a group like that. Then the other, I think what you're looking for is how do I work with a group. And yeah, I've gone here and there, I've gone, some things work. What I'm finding out in this year more than any other year is adults don't like to be told they're wrong.
Sure.
And kids don't care.
Right.
That's because they're in school and they get that all day long, right? But adults do not. So when you just say something simply like, make sure you get off that dot, on time or whatever, I'll get looks, like that, just because I said something, to correct them. And that you get from adults a little bit. And that got to me at first. So one of the other rules is shake it off. Just don't worry about that. But it's funny how that really is there. I mean, adults, they want to show you that they know what they're doing. And they do. But that's not what I'm doing. I'm just correcting a little problem, but so I've learned to kind of watch that and watch how I say it and just simply correct it and try not to say it was wrong in any way. And of course, not just using the word, but just not try to infer that it was wrong, try to just how to correct it. And that's important with adults. And then with the correcting, what was I going to say? I'm sorry. So that's the main thing.
That's the main thing. Yeah.
And what I'm doing, what I did last week, which I didn't do quite as much, is I'm just stopping as soon as something's not with me. Like immediately stop. They don't like it that much, but stopping, quickly start at the number, and they get it. They get it.
They get it. Yep.
Like you, instead of stopping and saying you did this and that, there we go with the was wrong again. And they kind of shut you down. If you just go back, they correct it. And that's what I'm finding out is like I don't have to blab as much.
Right.
Like just go back and say, let's try it again from 56 and make sure we're together. And that seems to be and all of a sudden the dotted rhythm, if I was talking about that, all of a sudden that's right. And I never even mentioned the dotted rhythm. We just went back. So I'm starting to find that out, and that's more effective than stopping and telling them things. Like the talking doesn't do much good in our group. So it's more of just being prepared, and then if something comes apart, stop, find the nearest place, and just correct it.
Well, to think of
talking about things.
To think about it, I know you said kind of in the beginning, when you expected,
I did
talked about with kids, you said, it is about the music and they could see right through you. And you're doing that exactly the same thing, I think, when you're on the podium in front of everybody. I mean, the podium.
They got that right from the start with me. Like if I do push, and I pushed a little more when I first started with them, but it was also, I think, with sitting 10 feet apart, I had to push sometimes.
You had to push.
It was a tough year, that first year, but I pushed them pretty hard. but it was always to get the music better.
Yep.
And they knew that. And they knew
Yep.
that. They knew that it was to correct it. And there was one time when it wasn't like that, and that's when I said that to the percussion. Oh, there I said it. It was the percussion. To the percussion section, and it was just I went home and went, you can't do that. You can't scold them or whatever,
Yeah.
or tell them to watch better or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I sometimes say watch, but even that's scolding with adults. You know,
Yep.
you just you know they're adults. You don't talk to them that way.
Yeah, right.
And it's taking me a while to get that.
Yeah, well, it's been one of my, fascinating interests, because it's like, it's essentially, and if you can think about this in a second, what you're providing is an education. You are providing, learning, and you're providing, going through this music. And I feel
Right.
that people want to be challenged, also want to know if there's a mistake happening and all that. But it's just like you said, it's like, it's a different dynamic.
Yeah, it's
It's,
a different dynamic. They want to know where the mistakes are, but they
yep,
don't like being told.
right.
And and the kids are like that a bit too. I mean,
Yep.
kids. I mean, when you're a teacher, you try to do it without saying you were wrong. You
Yeah,
just
right.
keep the W word out of there. You know.
Yep.
And how to correct it. But I tend to be a little negative right off the bat. That's just the way.
Right.
Because I think I was brought up that way musically, and
Mhm.
you may have been too. But I know my generation, especially, we were told we were wrong.
Yeah.
And it was not a big deal. You know, it's like,
Well,
yeah, I was wrong. So how am I going to be right?
I'll laugh.
It was not offensive to be told
Yeah.
you were wrong. And now I think things have changed, and adults are really like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you'll
Somebody-
laugh at this. You'll appreciate this.
Yeah.
Kind of. I think there was this rumor that you wouldn't smile to your band until I think it was getting closer to one of your concerts. You know what I mean? Something like that. And it was funny because even at a college that I was visiting at, I was conducting, and the first rehearsal I smiled, and at the end of the rehearsal we get done, and some of the students came up to me and go, "I like you," and I go, "Why? You smiled at us." Because none of the band directors would smile, because it's just like, no, you don't know what you're doing, because it's so hard. I mean, it's so, and you know that, I mean, being engrossed in the music, there's so many parts happening, and there's so many things happening, and
Yeah.
and sometimes you hear a wall of sound, and there's so much you have to fix with the tuning,
Right.
with the rhythm, with
Yeah, I don't think I did that purposefully, but with my kids at school, that worked.
Yep.
Because they're with you all the time and they get to know you. So when they saw that smile start to happening, they're like, "Hey, cool."
Yeah.
You're finally doing it. But what you said, I conducted West Point Brass back in 1992. Yeah, this was.
Okay.
We did pictures at an exhibition that.
Oh, wow.
What's the name of the British group that did that originally? Philip Jones.
Oh, okay. Philip
Right.
Jones. Okay.
The Philip
Yep.
Jones arrangement.
Yep.
Actually, it wasn't Philip Jones. It was Elgar Halworth, I think is the guy's name.
Okay.
But we did that arrangement, and the guys from West Point came in, and it was a tough beginning of the rehearsal.
Yep.
And it was mainly because of the one trumpet player knew me really well.
Okay.
And wasn't working that well. He said to me, as time went on, I think I was trying to correct something, and they just kept doing it wrong, and I was trying to correct it. And he said to me, "Well, we're not high school kids, Craig." And I looked at him. I said, "Well, the high school kids would have corrected it by now." And everybody laughed. The group just laughed, and then everything in the rehearsal started. It just became just fun. And we were laughing a lot, and we were talking a lot. And do you know Barry Morrison?
Oh, I don't know.
No, he was a euphonium player. I thought maybe,
okay.
yeah, from West Point. Great
okay.
euphonium player.
Okay.
I think he's still alive. I think he is.
Okay.
He's older than I am. He conducted the Rhinebeck band for a while.
Oh,
He came
okay.
up and did that. And he came up to me, he said, "No, nobody smiles or laughs with us, so this is really cool." because they're at West Point. He said everybody's like this all the time, rigid. And he said it's so nice to just have a person laugh with us and talk and let us laugh. And so that is fun to be able to do that. And sometimes we get that at Southern Duchess. But I am a taskmaster, so. But I think it happens occasionally, and then that's even better. It's like, he actually is a human being.
Well, you're making a connection. I mean, you're making a connection with the musicians, and I think people value that because, not to be smart here, but just like what you were saying about with the West Point group that you had with the brass, it's like, they're, they're professional musicians, right? And it's like and I don't want to say this, sometimes, they're very pointed at, making sure everything is correct and technical correct, and you had them made fun. Well, all of a sudden they want to play better for you. You know what I mean?
Have fun. And I think I was talking more about the overall arc of the music and that kind of thing, and they really liked that because he said they only deal with the precision all the time. Precision,
technical,
and yet they still produce great stuff, but it's all about precision. It's nice to kind of get away from precision, and that it is an art. And I used to take that pretty seriously too, teaching that it's an art. Number one, it's an art. Number two, it's entertainment. And it's entertainment because people enjoy the art. You got to keep it first. There's meaning behind everything we do. And it's really great about music. We don't know what the meaning is, but there's meaning. It's really cool.
It's funny you say that because it was on another one of our podcasts that, one of the gentlemen discussed that, we could listen to recordings of technical precision all day, and they're out there. And it's not that those recordings aren't good. I'm not saying that, but it's like, it's something about when you're together and you're making the music, and even if some mistakes occur, that it still has that music making qualities and that artistic value. And it's exactly where you're going right now with it. It's just, it's all about the music. And that's what you said from the whole start of this, that it just makes it amazing.
That's what I think. And I think that's always something that's kind of understood about me as a director. And it's like, if you're going to bring Craig in, he's going to be making music. And not, and then, and I don't know, I never, here's the other thing sometimes is we sometimes remember these directors that were just super personalities. And we don't all have that. It's a very real point, actually. And I think sometimes players want that. They want that superhuman up there, and not everybody's superhuman. So I think I think I discovered that, I'm not a superhuman. I'm sorry. I'm not this super director that has the perfect thing to say every time. And I know people that can do that. I know some people. I'm not that type of person. So I kind of went that way too. That I'm going to be all about making music, and that I think helped me along a little bit. Because I don't have that other side to just instantly have that rapport.
Right.
And we're all, so I think, that because when I talked to other directors, I had a director that I knew, and she was having a lot of trouble. What can I do? What can I do to get rid of this problem? And I gave her a couple of things to do. But what it really came down to is I said, know your music better. Get that, just so you can go up there and do what you have to do without thinking about anything in front of you. Like I really, I don't do this anymore because this is a different situation with the band. I'm looking at my music like this usually. We do so much music that I don't, but when I did it with the band, I had it memorized.
Memorized,
I don't think the score was in front of me. Well, it was in front of me, but I hardly used it.
Yeah.
But, so.
Well, hey.
It's making music, like we keep saying.
Making music, Well, hey, as we're wrapping this up, one thing I wanted to ask you is kind of like my last question. I've been asking quite a bit of folks who've kind of come on to this, this continuing and making music, and you yourself, have continue to make music because you're singing and playing your horn. And then
Right.
also, obviously, I will say conducting is making music because you're helping,
Right.
get everybody to perform together, even though that you might not be making sound. But I
You're
kind of
really making
inspired.
music about.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm kind of one thing I wanted to kind of ask is like I'm trying to inspire others, to kind of continue beyond, kind of the classroom, because for some reason when school ends and life starts or the lifestyle start, people stop, right? And that's, maybe you have some past students who aren't playing anymore. And like
Right.
I have a friend who's, was an all-state trombonist and he doesn't pick up his horn at all. And it's been like, goodness gracious, about 20 years now. So I'm just interested if what words of wisdom or thoughts that you would have for somebody who's either interested or who's want to get back into the music world or want to, as I say, keep that interest in music
I
or
think it's all inclusive.
Mhm.
And the first thing to do, I think, to get back into music is to, I'm sorry, this is gonna be stupid, but you get back into music, to
Mhm.
start listening again.
Mhm.
I always liked the music that I was playing in high school.
Mhm.
Like, when we got Blue Lake Overture, and this was back in the 70s, so I went out and bought an album that had Blue Lake Overture on it. Believe it or not, I found
Yeah,
it.
that's
Like, I
awesome.
really enjoyed listening to the music that I was playing.
Yep.
So I think that the first thing is to get in, to just take, is having the time,
Mhm.
to create that music. And watch that you don't get so busy in one area of music.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Like, be careful as a musician. One of the things I found that, and I'm going to say something that might get me in trouble here, but that I didn't like doing, and I still am not crazy about it, is playing for shows.
Mhm.
Sitting in there for a week and
Mhm.
just, like, I could be doing something with music instead. Like,
Right.
I
Mhm.
think it's important to keep music and
Mhm.
watch when it becomes a job. Watch when it, but
Right.
I mean, it does. And if it does become a job, continue to create music.
Yep.
If you get a gig, let's say you get a gig down in New York City and you play the same show for 3 months, you got to be listening to music.
Mhm.
You got to be playing at home. You got to be doing something to keep that wheel turning. You
Mhm.
know, and you can get into the music you're creating each day, but you got to be doing something else. So I think you got to have the time. You got to make the time to create the music. I don't
Mhm.
know if that makes any sense. Like,
It does.
yeah, when you get just heavily involved in one area and you get like singularly focused,
Mhm.
sometimes you start to lose.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've ever done a gig where when you're finished with a gig, thank God I'm done with that. I can go make music. And you have to watch that that doesn't become your life. I think
Yeah.
so. And a lot of musicians, I've seen that,
Yeah.
where that becomes their life and they're no longer creating the music. They're
Yep.
just, you
Yeah.
know, what's the tempo to that one? Well, you figure it out. What should be the tempo?
Yeah. Right.
All these wonderful things you can discover with music, and yet some people just, it's all finite, and it's
Yep.
like music is this wonderful world to create. And I think that's the most important thing. I hope that made sense. I don't
Yeah, it
know
makes sense. No, because I think
exactly
it's
what I
like,
was saying there, but that that the art of music is what you should be
Mhm.
involved with. And
Yep.
be careful it doesn't become just a day-to-day routine.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
We,
and if it does, do something. Maybe
yeah.
listen to something that you haven't listened to for a while.
Yeah.
And another thing to do a lot of is to listen to things that you're working
Hmm.
on. Like, for a while I was listening to the Galay etudes, and I found these wonderful recordings, and
Hmm.
then I would play them, and just to do a little bit more as a musician than just playing what's on the page.
Right.
To
Right.
delve into it, to find out about the composer, to do a little bit more. I think that's what
Yeah.
motivates me to keep it going. And I think that can motivate anybody at any time.
Hmm.
Because music is its own motivation, and that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah.
It is cool, and I know, and it's a variety of things too. I think how
Right.
you've kind of explained that. It's like you have this variety, and you want to make different music and diving into it, and not doing the same thing. And if you are in that kind of realm, then do something different with it each time, because
Right.
I think that's where it
Yeah.
becomes stagnant.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. And yeah, just and different, not necessarily different like singing and playing, and not,
Mhm.
I don't necessarily mean that. I mean just finding
Right.
different types of groups to play in, so you get this kind of playing here, this kind of
Yep.
playing here. Just
Yep.
keep it open,
Yep.
and also realize there's more than one kind of music in the world.
Yep.
I know people that play swing all the time, and then it's like that's their scope, and
Yeah. Right.
maybe listen to some different stuff, and get out of that scope a little bit.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
So I
thank
hope
you,
that.
Craig. Yeah, no, it
Yeah,
was
you're welcome.
great. Yeah, well, thank you. And I appreciate, I just wanted to say, I first of all, I appreciate you taking the time to, out of your day to do this podcast with me. I know you were like, what are we going to talk about? And I know it's like I told you from the beginning, we went quite a bit
Oh,
talking about a
talking's
lot
not
of
the
different.
problem with
Yeah.
me. It's keeping the focus
Oh,
on
you
one
did
topic.
great. No, you did
Oh, good.
great. And I do want to say, you had a lot of great things to say here, and I appreciate that. That's why I'm doing these things, because it's all about getting people's voices out there of who are making music, who are still in music, who are helping others make music, to get them out there to help everybody, and to get them to
Yeah,
continue to make music. And
I
then
appreciate what you're doing. I think
yeah.
it's really good.
Oh, well, thank you. And then the other thing
Yeah.
I want to say, and I know you're not going to want to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I want to thank you for your years of service, as public school
Oh, okay.
teacher, and also thank you for, continuing. And, I'm enjoying being under your direction at the Southern Duchess Community Band, so because I always learn from
Enjoy your
everybody. So,
euphonium playing.
well, thank you.